Yes, sir, clearly.
Yes, sir.
Very good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Sanket Charka from Sinhagad Institutes, Pune, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. We are beginning, starting with the today's lecture of economic analysis of business decision. In my last lecture, I have begun or we have started with the third chapter, that is supply and market equilibrium. In this particular subject, we will be understanding or we will dealing with what is the meaning of supply, what are the various different components or determinants of supply, what is law of supply, and the application of supply based on a certain concern with respect to the elasticity of supply as a major perspectives. Definition according to Thomas, the supply of goods is the quantity offered for sale in a given market at a given time and at various different prices. So whatever prices are made available into a particular market and whatever quantity is available for sale into the particular market, it's called the supply of goods for that particular time period. Determinants of supply, we have seen in detail what are the various determinants of supply and what explanation with respect to how the quantity supplied in a particular market either increases or decreases. Product price, price of related goods, cost and technology, objectives of the firm, future expenditure, weather and climate conditions, number of sellers, and taxation policy. Based on this concern, the supply of the product or commodity in a particular market differs, and accordingly, it either increases or decreases. The law of supply, when the price of commodity increases, then its quantity supplied increases, and when its price decreases, quantity supplied decreases, other things remaining the same. So when all the conditions are same, there is no flexibility into the particular market, then accordingly, whenever the price of the commodity is increasing, the quantity supply, that is the available amount of quantity of goods in the particular market increases, and whenever the price decreases, the quantity supplied accordingly decreases. So here the formula for this particular concern is supply is function of price, that is S is equal to F of P, where S stands for supply and P stands for price. Now another concern we have the assumptions of law of supply, wherein no change in the price of factors of production, no change in price of related goods, no change in the goals of the firm, no change in the expectations of producer, no change in the state of our technology, no change in number of producers, no change in the government policy, and lastly, no change in the taxation and subsidy rates. We have dealt with the various assumptions. Supply schedule and function with respect to what is an individual supply schedule and what is a market supply schedule. Then we have also seen what is meant by supply curve. Here you can, in this diagram or in this figure, you can see the price of a particular commodity and a quantity supplied is been provided. So here, if the price of commodity is increasing from 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 rupees respectively, accordingly, the quantity supplied in the number of units also increases, which means 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 respectively. So here, in this case, the supply curve move upwards. So as the price is increasing, in the same way, the quantity supplied is also increasing. So earlier, the primary, the price was rupees 10 and the quantity supplied was 2. Now the price is increased to 20, the quantity supplied becomes 4. The price increases to rupees 30, the quantity supplied becomes 6. The price increases to rupees 40 and the quantity supplied of number of units becomes 8. And lastly, if the price becomes rupees 50, the quantity supplied becomes 10 units. So in this way, the quantity supplied keeps on increasing as and when it is the price level increases. So here, what are the various consistency or various factors on which why supply curve slopes upward? So various reasons or various factors based on which the supply curve is moving upward. First thing is the change in stock level, profit or loss possibility, entry of firm, exit of firm, and incentives for innovations. So these are the various factors based on which these which compel or which take into consideration about the supply curve in a upward moving in an upward position. Expectations to the law of supply, we have also dealt with this particular concern, that is with respect to future expectations of prices, increase in the industrial goods, perishable goods preferences, goods of immediate action, disposable of the old stock, rare goods and backward countries. Now moving towards the next chapter or the next subunit is the market structure. चांगलं घेताल ते screenshot चांगले घ्या. Professor Chapman, necessarily not to be placed but also in commodity and the buyers and sellers, necessarily buyers and sellers who are in a different competition with another place where things are bought and sold, need of both buyers and sellers. So here in this case, we have to identify about what is the meaning of market structure. Market structure is a particular place where the things or where the goods, commodities and things are always bought and sold. So this is a particular concern wherein that is called as a market structure, where market structure wherein large number of buyers and sellers, the commodity wherein it has been bought and sold is available, and there is a direct competition with one another. So whenever we say that there are 2 or 3 or 4 sellers, then accordingly there are a different number of sellers and buyers available, and based on the different availability, the goods and services are being purchased and sold accordingly. Need of both buyers and sellers. Now here the need arises, or the need availability is for both the persons. That is, a particular buyer wants to buy something and a particular seller wants to sell something. So both the needs have been identified, it has been satisfied, it has been fulfilled, and accordingly the market structure is been at a certain position. Now different types of market structure with respect to the bifurcation or classification. Majorly, first term we have the market, and the market is divided into two factors, that is a perfect market and second is the imperfect market. There are no further classification with respect to the perfect market, but there are various different types of market with respect to the imperfect market condition. The market condition of perfect nature is a particular concern wherein all the things are very stable and every competitor, every buyer and seller are of a stable state. But in case of imperfect market conditions, there is no flexibility, there is a lot amount of flexibility, there is no stability, and so on. And based on those concerns, the different four types of market structure or market situation arises. What are those factors or the four types? That is monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and duopoly. So I repeat, monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and duopoly. So these are the four types of market structure with respect to the imperfect market conditions that are into existence. Now, what are the various determinants based on which a market structure is been designed or it has been determined? Number and nature of sellers. So before we come to a certain conclusion about understanding what is meant by a market structure or what a market structure comprises of, we have seen that there are majorly two classifications. That is, a particular market may be of a perfect nature and a particular market can be of an imperfect nature. Now, if it is of an imperfect, it can be either monopoly, duopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic, and so on. So it completely depends on which factors. So the factors that determine, the factors which identify about where, in what way you will classify a particular market are these particular type of factors. So first factor here is what number of sellers are available in that particular market. Whether the seller is 1, whether the seller is 2, whether the seller is 5, whether the number of sellers are 10, or whether the number of sellers are 100, 500, and so on. So in this case, or in this particular situation, we have to identify that what many number of sellers are available and how many sellers are selling that particular product. Now, a particular product may be a single commodity or n number of product at this particular stage. So in this way, the number and nature of sellers has to be identified, and based on those concerns, the sellers can be identified and a market structure can be determined. Number and nature of buyers. Number and nature of buyers clearly means about as we have the number of sellers into existence, in the same way or the same fashion, we have number of buyers into existence. So number of buyers are the particular concern wherein what many number of purchasers there, whether the consumer is 1, whether the consumer is 5, whether the consumer is 10, whether the consumer is 20, and so on. So the nature of the number of sellers and the number of buyers also determine about what is the different type of market structure into existence. Nature of product. So which type of product that you are selling for, whether the product is a durable product, whether the product is non-durable product, whether the product is a regular or a routine purchase product, and so on. So depending on the different type of product also, we can identify about which type of market structure we are going for, we are looking for, and what type of market it is prevailing into the market structure or the market situation. Whether it is a short-term product, long-term product, seasonal product, and so on. So there are different types of product features also, and based on the product features, we can also identify about which market structure is into existence. Entry and exit conditions. Entry and exit conditions is a particular concern wherein when a particular consumer is coming to the market, when a particular seller is coming to market, and when a particular consumer is exiting, or when a particular seller is exiting from that particular market. So entry and exit conditions is applicable for both the concern with respect to the buyers and sellers respectively. Now, majorly, we have to identify the market structure with respect to entry and exit with respect to firm as a major competitor or major participants. So there are various participants of the firm wherein a firm may enter into a particular market and a firm may exit from that particular market. So at what time or at what level they are entering and when they are exiting from a particular market, it also has to be identified. Now, for example, market structure with respect to Tata Nano. The market structure for Tata Nano, that is the entry level was India around 2011, and the exit level for Tata Nano was in the year 2013 or 2014. And as on today, we find very rare that people are not purchasing Tata Nano as a particular car. So in this case, we can identify a market structure based on the entry and exit level conditions. So that is when a particular product is coming and when a particular product is exiting from a particular market or a particular firm. It can be related to a particular product, it can be related to a particular firm, or it can be related to the consumers, or that is the respective buyers also. Next consideration, the last point is the economics of scale. So based on the factors of production that are available for you, based on the increase in demand, decrease in demand, increase in supply, decrease in supply, the economies of scale, that is increase or a decrease in a particular quantity demanded, increase or decrease in the price and supply of goods and services. Accordingly, the market structure can be determined. So based on the market structure, we can identify whether it is a wholesale market, whether it is a retail market, whether it is a durable, non-durable, consumer goods market, electronic goods market, and so on. So based on a particular sector, based on a particular industry, based on the type of the product, based on the type of the commodity, based on the type of consumers, based on the type of purchase, based on the economies of scale. So what quantity you are purchasing, accordingly the market structure can be determined. And it has been further classified. Now, if you are going to if you are going to market and you are purchasing just one commodity, then we can say that it is a particular sell of a retail consumer, or sell that is a purchase by a retail consumer. If you are if you are purchasing around 3 or 4 quantity, then again it will be consumed, or it can be identified under retail purchase. But if the quantity is beyond 10, beyond 50, beyond 100, that is 1000, 10,000, and so on, then the economies of scale starts increasing. That is, your number of quantities, your product that you are purchasing, the quantity keeps on increasing, and accordingly it can be called as an wholesale purchase. So whether it is an wholesale purchase, whether it is a retail purchase, or whether it is an industrial purchase. Now, if you are a manufacturer and you want to manufacture certain goods and services, then you may purchase the quantity in bulk also. That is, you can purchase either 1000, 10,000, 50,000 number of quantities. So at this particular stage, it will be called as an industrial purchase, wherein you are putting or you are using a particular raw material for further processing, and accordingly the industrial purchase or industrial acquisition of goods and services can be identified, which can be achieved. Okay, any difficulty at this stage in understanding the determinants of market structure? If you have any difficulty, you can please ask at this particular stage, otherwise we'll move further. Quickly, within 10 seconds. Moving further, basics of classification of market. So how market can be classified? So there are in terms of economics. So the classification of market in terms of organizational behavior, in terms of marketing, in terms of finance, in terms of economics, at every stage it differs from subject that you are referring for. So now here at this stage we are referring to the classification of markets based on a certain consideration with respect to an economic perspective. Now, economic perspective, that is, the factors of production are into existence, the goods and services have been manufactured, it has been processed, and it has been further sent to market for the selling purpose. And we have effective number of sellers also, and the sellers are regularly and frequently purchasing those goods and services. So basis of classification of market. So how do we classify, on what basis a particular market has been classified? Now, first thing what we have seen, first thing we have classified a particular market based on the two types, that is perfect and imperfect. Imperfect is further classified into 4 categories. Then we have understood about what are the various factors or what are the various determinants on which you can identify whether it is a market or whether it is not a market, and which type of market it is. Now, basis of classification, that is, what are the various factors, what are the various ground realities, or what are the various terminologies based on which you can identify which type of market is of a which consideration. So first thing, on the basis of area. So based on a particular area perspective, so you can identify whether a market is a small market or a big market. Now here in this case, for example, you went to a particular retail store. Now a particular retail store or a particular grocery shop, it is very small, and the quantity available at that particular store is also small. The quantity that has been purchased is also very small, and accordingly we purchase in a retail requirement. A big another type of a particular area, based on a particular area, that is a big store you can go for, and accordingly you go to purchase in DMart, Vijay Sales, and so on, or a particular showroom of Sony and so on, or a particular showroom which is available for purchase of electronic goods, commodities, and services. Now here what happened, based on the area perspective, a retail store having a small area, a particular showroom having a big area, a particular mall having a big area, and a particular wholesale market having a big area. So based on the area of that particular market, the market can be classified as a wholesale market, retail market, on those different factors. Nature of transaction. Now, nature of transaction specifically means what is your business value for that particular product. Whether the business value is 1 rupee, whether the business value is $2, whether the business value is $10, $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 10 crores, and so on. So based on the nature of transaction also, you can identify about which type of market you are dealing for, whether you are dealing in goods market, whether you are dealing in services market, whether you are dealing in commodity market, whether you are dealing in derivatives market, whether you are dealing in product market, few and so on. So based on the nature of transaction, what is the value of your transaction? Now, particular goods or commodity purchased for around 10 rupees to 50 rupees or 500 rupees or 1000 rupees, it can be purchased for a retail consumption. Or a particular commodity purchased for rupees 10,000, 50,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, it may be for a business transaction. So accordingly, what quantity you are purchasing, and based on that particular quantity, what is the value of that particular transaction? So nature of transaction also can be identified, and accordingly you can see what classification of markets is into existence. Now, nature of transaction is another bifurcation under nature of transaction, where is a particular concern of either it is a cash purchase or it is a credit purchase. Now, cash purchase is a particular concern wherein in a retail market, usually we pay a certain sum of money in cash perspective. That is, the amount or the consideration price is paid very immediately, and accordingly you get the delivery of the goods and services as and when you pay a certain sum of money. But in case of some another market or a business purchase, what do? We purchase the goods on credit basis. That is, you place a certain order today, you get a certain delivery of goods and services in a certain quantity, and you make a part payment. After a point of time, whenever you make another second, that is the second installment of that particular payment, the remaining quantity of goods and services is been delivered for you. So nature of transaction, whether it is a cash purchase, whether it is a credit purchase, what quantity you are purchasing, based on that particular quantity, it has been determined or it has been identified whether the transaction is complete or whether the transaction is not complete. The transaction may extend for a different period of point of time. That is, a transaction may be completed today, a transaction may be taken over for 7 days, it can be taken over for a fortnight, for a month, for 6 months, for a year, for a long-term joint venture for around 20 years also. So in this way, what is the nature of transaction? Based on the nature of transaction also, the market can be classified into different categories or different opinions. Volume of business. So based on the volume of business, what that is, the specifically dealing with the manufacturer or the suppliers or the seller. So manufacturer, supplier or seller deals with a certain concern with respect to what quantity of goods and services you are manufacturing. That is, whether you are manufacturing or processing or purchasing one quantity, whether you are processing 10 quantity, whether you are purchasing 100, 1000 and 10,000 quantities. So in this case, your volume of business also differs from person to person, company to company, and brand to brand, and product to product, whatever you are manufacturing. Now, for example, take a manufacturing concern of Mercedes, BMW and a particular car. Now, for this particular concern, there are less number of buyers. The buyers are very limited, and the quantity that has been manufactured is also limited. That is, in a country of, for example, 130 billion, there can be around only 1000 people who can purchase this particular car. So, in a large quantity or in a large volume of persons, a few number of people are purchasing those goods or services per commodity. So, accordingly, and the price of the particular product, that is the nature of transaction or the basis of area. So in a particular country, that is 1000 customers are available for you, and within that particular customer region, for example, in Pune district or in a Pune location, at this particular stage, only 5 customers may be available for you. So volume of business. So what Mercedes or BMW will do, they will only manufacture 5 product or 5 commodity. Going further with a bit higher level or advanced level, requirement of refrigerator, washing machine, TV, fridge, and so on. So here, for example, there are 1 lakh families into concern of the Pune district. Then accordingly, the volume of business keeps on increasing. The volume of manufacturing keeps on increasing. Mercedes manufacturing only 5, refrigerator manufacturing 1000 or 1 lakh quantity, TV manufacturing 1 lakh quantity, and so on. So here, volume of business is increasing. Again, for example, identify a particular business with respect to clothing, that is purchase of shirt, trouser, kurtis, and so on, or particular jeans and so on. Now, for this particular concern, again, the population of Pune district, population of Pune district above 2 crore to above 3 crore and so on. So accordingly, what happens, whenever the population keeps on increasing, the quantity demanded also increases. So the quantity demanded in terms of clothing will increase, and accordingly, the manufacturer has to increase the particular quantity. Further, again, at an advanced level, the daily consumption of food and the consumable items. Now, here at this stage, for example, take a consumable daily requirement is biscuits. Now, for example, Marigold or a particular biscuits of Parle-G, wherein lakhs of quantity, that is lakhs and crores of kilos of biscuits will be required, and accordingly, lakhs and crores of biscuits may be manufactured today or in a particular day or on a specific period. So, in this way, the volume of business keeps on increasing. So based on the volume of business, whatever, on what number of quantity, what number of goods you are manufacturing or purchasing or producing, your market is been classified. So whether it is a small scale market, whether it is a wholesale market, whether it's a retail market, whether the consumer is purchasing in a smaller quantity, whether the consumer is purchasing in a big or a bulk quantity, and so on. So what is the volume of business, what number of quantity you are manufacturing, what number of quantity you are purchasing and producing. So in this way, on the basis of classification also, we can identify about what is the volume of business and what is the type of market that we are prevailing or ruling into. Commodity and services. So what type of commodity or what type of services that you are offering for. Now here it is always called as an industry specific or a sector specific. So whether it is a commodity which is a daily consumable, whether it is a durable, non-durable, perishable, non-perishable, and so on. Services with respect to after sale service or a product service or a free service or a genuine service, which type of service you are providing for, whether it is a technical service, whether it is an IT related service, whether it is enabled services, and so on. So what type of commodity you are dealing with, what type of services you are dealing with, all the factors are associated with the industry or with the sector that you are dealing with. So based on this particular concern, we have to identify about which market we are into, what product we are selling, under that particular product category, which product or which commodity we are selling for, and it falls under which industry, which it falls under which sector, and under that particular sector, what is the essentiality or durability or requirement of that particular product. Based on that particular requirement, a particular service has to be followed with, and accordingly we have to provide the services to the consumer. Certain services are associated with the product itself, and certain services are associated with the after sales, that is after the sales has been completed for a period of duration, for example for 1 year, for a duration of 2 years, continuously the company or the vendor has to provide the services to the purchaser of the commodity. So in this way, based on the commodity, based on the service, your market has been classified on the concern of the commodity and services. Respect to time, so your based on the time also, the classification of the market also can be identified, whether it is a seasonal market, whether it is a regular routine market, whether it is an off seasonal market, and so on. Now for example, purchase of biscuits or a particular consumables or a daily requirement, that is food, clothing, and shelter. For these particular, now food, clothing is a particular daily essential requirement, and accordingly we need this particular commodity or these particular services on day in and day out basis. That is, whenever there is a sunrise, we need all the different articles, and accordingly whenever there is a sunset, we start consuming or we start occupying those articles and consumes our product and services. So based on the time, so certain products or certain factors or certain commodity are required on daily basis, certain product or certain commodity or certain services are required on a frequent basis, that is every 7 days, every 15 days, every month, or every 6 months, and some products or services are required for around duration of for some 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. So based on the time also. So for example, real estate industry, now classification of market in terms of industry with respect to real estate sector. Now in the terms of manufacturing of the real estate sector, what is the particular concern? The flat is not purchased daily, that is, we do not purchase a flat today, again we sell tomorrow, we do not purchase tomorrow, again we sell it on the next day, and so on. So when a particular house or a particular bungalow or a particular row house or a particular flat has been purchased, we stay into that particular house or in that particular bungalow or a particular row house for around 5 years or 10 years. So in this way, the time factor that has been identified or the classification of this particular market can be also identified, can also be determined based on what time duration it has been occupying. For a biscuit industry, we daily consume biscuits and so on, or a milk industry, we daily consume this particular product or commodity, and accordingly it can be called as a short-term market. That is, for a very short period of time, the market is in existence. Whereas in case of certain clothing industry, it can be called a medium-term market, and in case of an real estate industry, that is food, clothing, and shelter, it can be called as a long-term service market. So in this way, the market can be identified, the market can be classified as short-term term, medium-term term, or long-term market. And in this way, the classification of the market can be undertaken by the different people or the different producers, manufacturers, sellers, suppliers, wholesaler, dealers, and so on. Status of sellers. So what is the status of sellers with respect to the product availability? So here specifically you need to understand what is the brand value of that particular product, whether the product is an established product, whether the product is a branded product, whether the product is a non-branded product, and so on. So based on those considerations, we have to identify which type of product we are dealing for. Now for a certain concern with respect to a branded product, the branded product may be required over a period of time, and the purchase capacity of an individual may be different. That is, a particular person may be affordable to purchase, a particular person may not be affordable to purchase. So based on the brand category, brand association, we have to identify what is the status of sellers. Now, a particular biscuit of Parle-G, there are few number of buyers who can purchase those commodity, and for a purchase of a Good Day or a certain Oreo biscuits, there are few number of buyers who can purchase those commodity or those products. So, what is the status of seller into the market? What is the brand value? What is the goodwill that has been associated with the product into the market, and how the seller is having a reputation or brand image into the market? Based on this particular concern, also the market is being classified. Now, a particular seller can be called as a monopoly seller, wherein if only one person is available and only one person can sell the product or sell that commodity which is available into the particular market. So there are certain few examples wherein these particular sellers or the particular market is said of a certain opinion that the particular seller is ruling into that particular market only, and he is the king into that particular market. So in this way, we can say or we can identify about what is the status of seller. So a particular person who is selling a commodity, who is selling the goods and services into that particular market, becomes a king, become a status quo, and there is no option, there is no substitute available through which another product or commodity can be acquired for. Legality, based on the various legal terms and conditions or the changes in the government policy. So changes in the government policy specifically means about what is the consideration with respect to the legal consideration terms about the preference for the industry. The preference for the industry is given at a certain stage, wherein at every stage we have to identify the government is always changing their preferences, the government is always changing their priority about which sector or which industry has to given a certain focus for. Now, in case of, for example, when India got independence in 1947, the major thrust was given for agrarian sector, that is producing of farming and agriculture products, and accordingly, our focus was only that perspective. From the year 1980s to 1985 onwards, we focused on industrial revolution, and accordingly, heavy goods industry, material industry, logistic industry started to develop, and accordingly, the legal constitution, that is the liberalization, privatization, globalization scenario of 1991 came into existence, and accordingly, the legal changes was taken into consideration. Furthermore, in the year 2000, we have focused on IT industry, that is information technology. Then we came to the service industry. Then we came to different sectors, and accordingly, the priority, the preferences for the government kept on changing. With respect to 2013, the Indian Companies Act was been amended, and accordingly, the various legal rules, regulations, formalities of the Companies Act was been changed, and accordingly, the government started to give priority. Now, as on today, that is in the year 2020-21, what we are looking for, the legality with respect to the pharmaceutical sector is very bit less, and accordingly the government is giving quite supportive environment or quite benefits with respect to how the legal terms conditions can be minimized, and accordingly the liberalization can be given in terms of pharmaceutical and medicinal industry. So here what legal conditions have been laid, how the government is controlling or ruling a particular market condition also has to be taken into consideration, and accordingly we can identify or define about how a market situation is into existence. Nature of competition. So here nature of competition means what type of market it is, whether it is a perfect competition or whether it is an imperfect competition. So market structure, which means specifically means what type of market we are ruling for, and the market structure we are ruling for specifically means about only two factors, that is whether it is a perfect market or whether it is an imperfect market. So imperfect market, what is a particular consideration? We have a long question in the further stage. Based on the consideration, based on the various factors, we can identify whether a situation is of a perfect competition or whether situation is of an imperfect competition. Now, perfect competition in the sense wherein there is a proper healthy competition into the market, and in case of imperfect competition, we can say that there is no healthy competition and there is completely biased situation which has been prevailing or ruling into a market economy. So if the biased or unbalanced situation is prevailing into a market economy, then accordingly we can say that the market is not stable, the competition is not favorable, and accordingly the balanced or the stable growth of a particular economy cannot be undertaken. So based on this, so these are the various bases of classification on which we can identify which type of market we are ruling for, which type of market it has been prevailing. So on the basis of area, on the basis of nature of transaction, volume of business, commodity and services, time, status of sellers, legality, and the nature of competition. Now moving with the first type of our market, that is perfect competitive market. So Kurzweil, the definition given by Kurzweil with respect to the perfect competitive market is the place where there is a complete absence of rivalry among both the buyers and sellers. So here, now understand the terminology, that the balanced situation must always be there between the buyers also and not between the sellers also. So whenever we are dealing with the terms of economics, we have to see that there is a proper stability, there is a proper flexibility, and there is a completely stability between the buyers also and between the sellers also. So there is no competition, there is no concern with respect to rivalry as a certain situation. That is no one is having a certain position therein wherein we are treating each one of us as a rival position. So a particular market or a particular situation wherein both the buyers and sellers are having freedom, and accordingly they can compete or they can complete their activities in a free or trade of economy or a free activity. Second definition given by Lipse, the market structure in which all firms and industry are price takers and in which there is a freedom for entry into and exit of firms. So one of the feature of basis of classification of market or determinants of markets. So in terms of determinants and in terms of features, what we have seen, that is a major essential requirement is a free entry and exit of firms. So whenever you feel you can enter into a particular market, whenever you feel you can exit from that particular market. So at this stage, we have to identify about what is the market structure. So market structure, whether it's a perfect or whether it's imperfect. Now, if the market structure is very perfect, then there are all firms in all the firms and the industry. So here, what do we mean to say? That no industry is given a certain preference, no industry is given a certain priority, and accordingly, there is a proper balanced situation between all the sectors and all the industry which are ruling into a particular market scenario. Now, what are the firms and my industry they are doing? They are the price takers. So what is the meaning of price taker? That is, there is a proper stability or there is a proper coordination and distribution of profit between each and every sector. That is, if I feel that I want to enter into a particular market, then accordingly I have a certain freedom. If Miss Manisha feels that she want to enter into a particular market, she is having a certain freedom. If Mr. Soham feels that he want to enter into a particular market, then accordingly he can go and enter into that particular market. If at this stage, if Miss Sunita feels that she want to enter into a particular market, she has a certain freedom for entry and exit. And now at this stage, after taking the profit for around 5 years, if I feel, that is Mr. Sanket feels that I want to exit from a particular market, the market situation is of a certain prevailing nature that you have a free entry and exit into this particular concern. And everyone is the price taker. That is, if whatever business I am doing, I am getting the profit. Whatever business Mr. Soham is doing, the Mr. Soham is getting the profit. Whatever business Miss Sunita is doing, she is getting the profit, and so on. So in this way, there is each and every participant, each every component is the price taker into this particular firm. Another concern with respect to the freedom. So whatever product that you want to purchase, whatever product that you want to sell, everyone at this particular stage is having a certain freedom with respect to purchasing and selling. That is, now taking a smaller example, for there is a particular place in Pune called as an Tulsi Bagh. Now, in this particular stage, there are lot many number of sellers and lot many number of buyers, and accordingly, everyone is trying to sell and purchase their products respectively. So, what happens at this particular stage? Now, it can be called as a perfect competitive market wherein a free entry and exit of the firm is into existence. If I that as on today, Mr. Sanket feels that he wants to start a particular store or he wants to start a certain shop in Tulsi Bagh, he can go and he can start his particular shop. If another X person feels that he wants to go and start his particular shop, accordingly he can go and stop. Or if a particular lady feels that she want to go and purchase certain articles from that particular shop, from that particular store or particular location, he can freely go and purchase the goods and services. So accordingly, everyone is having a concern with respect to the freedom, and everyone is the price taker. So wherever you feel, if a particular seller is selling you for ₹10 and another seller is selling you for ₹9 or ₹11, it is completely freedom for you for at which location you want to purchase. But another situation, if you go to a particular mall, then accordingly, if it is a certain tendency that in your particular city there is only one mall available, and in that particular one mall only all commodities are available, then there is no option for you. So if there are no options for a particular buyer, or if there are no options for the sellers also, then at this stage we can say that there is no perfect competition. But here in case of Tulsi Bagh, we have a certain competition, and that particular competition is very perfect, wherein there are large many number of buyers, there are large many number of sellers, and everyone is having a certain freedom with respect to whenever they want to enter, they can enter, and whenever they want to exit, they can exit from their particular market. So you can establish or you can start a shop today, and tomorrow you can close that particular shop as and when you need. The concern with respect to industry, now here the product is not related to a certain sector, to a certain specific, to a certain industry, or so on. You can purchase, you can sell any type of commodity, any type of goods, or any type of services. So whatever has been comfortable with you, whatever are your skill sets, based on your skill sets, you can take up any product, any commodity, and accordingly those particular product or commodity can be sold out into the market. So two definitions given by Kotswalani and Lipse of perfect competitive market. Now moving towards the features of perfect competition. So what are the various features of perfect competitive market? So when a market situation can be called as of an perfect competitive nature. First thing, Large number of buyers and sellers. So large number of buyers and sellers means, so there is no limitations to the number of buyers and sellers who are available into this particular market. So large number means there can be around 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500 number of buyers and sellers also. So the number of buyers, that is the person or the consumers who are requiring those goods and services, are also more, and accordingly the large number of sellers are also available in that particular market situations. And whenever this particular situation arises, we can say that a perfect competition market is into origination or is into existence. Homogeneous products are a particular concern wherein either you are producing, or either you are selling, or either you are purchasing similar quantity or similar type or different types of products and commodities or services. Now homogeneous is a particular concern wherein, that is, if you need a certain commodity, if you need a certain product, then accordingly there are various options available for you. If you find a particular product comfortable at seller, that is retailer A, you can purchase that product at retailer A. If you find the particular product is comfortable at retailer B or retailer C or retailer Z, then accordingly you can go to different retailers, different vendors, different stores, and wherever you feel comfortable, you can purchase the product, you can purchase that particular commodity. So every product is quite similar, and every product is quite competitive based on the comfortability, based on the affordability of the consumer. Wherever he feels, he can go to that particular store, and accordingly he is having a certain freedom to purchase the commodity as and when it is been required. So always there is an homogeneity with respect to the product as a certain concern. Another feature is free entry and exit of firm. Free entry and exit, already we have seen, that is with respect to whenever a particular seller feels that he want to enter into a particular market, there is no restrictions of the government, there are no restrictions of the buyers and sellers, and accordingly there are no restrictions from the competitors or the traders also. That is, for example, if you have purchased a certain quantity today, and you are going to sell it within the end of the day, and accordingly if the commodity is being sold out today itself, you can close the shop today immediately, and tomorrow you can start with a new shop. If tomorrow you started with a new shop, and again you feel that if you want to continue with the same product with the same commodity, then accordingly the product can be continued and you can keep on selling those goods and services. So that is the concept of entry. Another stage, for example, you have attained a profit of rupees 10 lakh, or a profit of rupees 50 lakh or 1 crore is been achieved for you, and you feel that you want to stop your business, then accordingly at this stage you can go to the government, you can claim a certain organization, that is you can give an application, accordingly the business can be shut down and the business can be closed accordingly. So here a particular person or a particular trader can exit from that particular market concern also. So that is, you can open a particular shop today and you can close down the shop today itself or tomorrow itself. So this is the feature of perfect competition, wherein there is proper freedom with respect to whenever you want to feel that you can enter into particular market, and whenever you feel you want to exit from that particular market, you can exit or you can close down the shop respectively. Perfect knowledge. Now, the next concern or the next feature of perfect competition market is the concept of perfect knowledge. Now, perfect knowledge means the knowledge with respect to the product, with respect to commodity, with respect to the goods, services that you are providing for, and the market condition. So, market condition in the sense that is what is the price prevailing into the particular market. So, whenever I say that a business, I want to purchase a mineral water, and the mineral water is costing rupees 20, then what we are seeing for that every consumer is having a certain knowledge and they are having a certain perfect conception with respect to what product we are purchasing, what product we are selling, and what product is being offered to a consumer. Now, perfect knowledge with respect, it differs from a particular consumer to a seller. Now, from a consumer, that is, a consumer is also knowing what he is purchasing, why he is purchasing, and why is he in need of those goods and services. With respect to a particular seller is also knowing that is why he has purchased those commodity, why the consumer is purchasing those commodity, and what are the benefits, that is pros and cons of that particular product. So accordingly, what the perfect knowledge means, which means that whenever you are trying to purchase or whenever you're trying to sell a certain commodity, we must have a certain knowledge about why and for what purpose we are purchasing those commodity or goods and services, and what is the ultimately utility of that particular product. So utility means what is the need, what is the desire, and what is the willingness to purchase those commodity for, and for what purpose you are purchasing or for what purpose you are selling. A particular seller may sell a certain commodity for earning profit, and a particular seller may sell a particular commodity for wealth maximization. So what is your motive, what is your objective, and for what purpose you are selling the commodity or purchasing the commodity. Absence of transportation cost. Now here at this stage there is an absence of transportation cost. Why? Because the market is of a stable nature and it is always of a perfect nature. Now, whenever we say that the market is of a perfect competitive nature, it is always established, it is always located at a center point at a certain place, and accordingly the seller is remaining fixed, and accordingly the buyer has to go to that particular location, and accordingly he has to purchase those goods and services. Whereas a particular perfect market situation can be of a certain concern wherein the sellers are available in large number. Now, the first point is saying that large number of buyers and sellers are available. So a particular commodity whichever you are intending to purchase, it can be available in Pune also, it can be available in Delhi also, it can be available in Kolkata also, it can be available in Madras, that is Chennai also, and so on. So you need not to go to certain another location and purchase those commodity. So here a particular product, a particular commodity which is available in all the cities, at all the locations, in all the term markets, or all the particular the distinct locations, then that particular situation we can say that large number of sellers are into existence. So when large number of sellers are into existence, then we can identify, then we can say that there is absence of transportation cost. That is, we need not to move from one place to another place for acquiring or for acquisition of that particular product or commodity whichever we are intending to purchase. Only transportation cost is associated with a particular concern with respect to the buyer. That is, whenever he is moving from one place to another place for purchasing. Now, in a particular case or a certain situation, that is, I stay in a particular society, and that is a Koregaon Park. And whenever I stay in Koregaon Park, I can go to a market of go to the market of Deccan also, I can go to the market of Camp also, I can go to the market of Hadapsar also, and I can go to the market of Mumbai also, or I can go purchase the commodity in Koregaon Park itself. So here in this case, what is the situation? If I'm purchasing the commodity in my own locality, then accordingly there is absence of transportation cost. If I'm purchasing the commodity in Deccan or a Camp area, then accordingly the limited transportation cost is being applied. If I move to Mumbai and purchase the commodity, then accordingly the purchasing cost of the commodity increases or decreases. So in this way, a perfect competitive market situation is a particular concern wherein the transportation cost can be absent also, or the transportation cost can be increased also. For a particular seller, the customer is available, the consumer is available at the same location, and accordingly, as and when the need arises, the consumer can go and purchase the goods and services commodity on or at whichever place market situation the goods are available. Perfect mobility, that is movement of goods or movement of commodity or movement of services. So from one market to another market, the product keeps on moving, the product keeps on changing, and accordingly there is a perfect mobility with respect to the product or services that is being provided. A perfect mobility is another concern with respect to factors of production that we are dealing for. So a perfect mobility factor can be also associated with a certain concern with respect to factors of production of land, labor, capital, enterprise, and resources. So whenever you feel that you need to purchase a certain quantity, or whenever you want to purchase a certain concerned with respect to raw material, at every stage you can go and acquire, or you can get the certain amount of quantity that has been required, and accordingly the satisfaction or the requirement level can be fulfilled. And if you feel that there is no requirement of a certain commodity, then accordingly you cannot purchase those goods and services, and accordingly a mobility situation can be created as and when the need arises. Next thing, no artificial restrictions. So there are no artificial restrictions that is being created either by the buyers, either by the sellers, either by the competitors, either by the government, either by the stakeholders, and so on. So always it is assumed that there is a free market situation, and everyone is having a certain freedom with respect to entry and exit, with respect to performance of the market, with respect to getting the benefit of profits and availing the market conditions. And lastly, absence of selling cost. So here in this case, what we are looking for, there is absence of selling cost, means a particular product is being sold out only at maximum retail price. That is the MRP which has been printed on a particular product, or a standard price which is available into the particular market. So what the seller is doing, the seller is not charging an excessive amount or excessive price to a particular buyer, and accordingly the buyer is also not paying an excessive amount or excessive price to a particular commodity. So in this case, whenever we say that a particular product has been healthily purchased at the MRP, that is maximum retail price, the price which has been set or which has been decided by a certain government, then we can say that a perfect market situation is arising or is into existence. So these are the various features with respect to the perfect competition market, which are the large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous product, free entry and exit, perfect knowledge of the product or commodity, absence of the transportation cost, perfect mobility, no artificial restrictions, and lastly, the absence of selling cost. So that's all for today's lecture. In this way, we come to the conclusion of today's lecture. Thank you everyone for joining. Good day. I'm dropping the link of attendance in the chat box. Students to please mark their attendances accordingly.